Hello, fire department? Hurry, it's an emergency!
Fire department, open up! Open up! I'm coming in!
Oh, thank goodness you're here! I think my deck needs an extender.
You called the fire department just to get legacy support?
Uh-huh. So can you help?
Yeah, what are we working with?
Great! So what I was thinking was...
Good afternoon, Jank enthusiasts. I'm MBT, and this is 10-Minute Testing. Well, Dune Box Break's just released, so after months of just sort of hoping that the hashtag Pearly Sweep would fail to manifest, I guess I'd better face the music and actually see what's in this set, beginning with an archetype in desperate need of a rescue. Presenting Rescue Ace.
Pork chop sandwiches! Doosh!
So here's the list, and I basically just stole this from Pack. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course, the card by card. But first, this video is sponsored by Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck. Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck is the #1 place to go if you need a pack simulator, a card database, or want to read a wealth of strategy articles. They also post breakdowns and lists from every major TCG and Master Duel tournament, including the Master Circuit series. Give them a look at www.ygoprodeck.com. With that, let's rankle with Rescue Ace. Rescue Ace is another archetype from Amazing Defenders, a set with literally 0 playable archetypes on release, whose contents now span multiple Tier 1 decks. These fantastic firefighters swoop onto the field whenever they're needed, be it on your turn or your opponent's. By using the effects of Impulse and Air Hoister, they can start assembling the team even before you begin your first turn. Unfortunately, they should have probably spent a little more time practicing putting out fires, as that's just about where their utility ends. Think of them as Tearlament, except instead of a million negates, they just sort of put up nothing. What they lack in interaction, they more than make up for with Turbulence, which allows you to set up to 4 spells and traps from your deck. But realistically, all they really ever accomplished was making your opponent bored into impermanence. Until now! As of Dune, Rescue Ace now has 2 additional cards, and I am not kidding when I say they resolve literally every single problem with the archetype. The first, Rescue Ace Preventer, is a free special summon that, under certain conditions, is a Book of Moon. This gives your quick effect summons like Impulse and Airlifter something to do, setting up interaction early and often. Second, Emergency is kind of an emergency teleport, which tributes a Rescue Ace on resolution. In a deck whose major weakness was infinite impermanence, this is the perfect way to both find combo pieces and dodge interaction. The result is a top deck in the OCG, so hopefully we can have similar success stateside. While there's not yet a default best build, we're trying something a little spicy. Since the deck doesn't need much of its extra, we're playing a Terahertz line in order to set up multiple points of negation. Is it good? Who knows? But is it funny? You betcha. So with that, let's get into the card by card. First up, the Rescue Aces. 2 copies of Turbulence. This card can banish 2 Rescue Aces from the graveyard, a special summon from the hand, and during your main phase you can set up to 4 Rescue Ace quick play spells or normal traps with different names directly from your deck. If another card you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect, you can target a card on the field and destroy it. After that, we've got 2 copies of Rescue Ace Preventer. You can banish a Rescue Ace card from your graveyard, a special summon this card from your hand, and if you control another Rescue Ace monster, you can target an effect monster your opponent controls and change it to face down defense position as a quick effect. If this card is in the graveyard, you can target one of your banished Rescue Ace monsters, except a level 8, special summon it. This comes up a lot because it's enabled by the first effect. It's a way to get Hydrant back onto the field, which is incredible because it gives all of your Rescue Ace cards bonus effects. We're playing 1 copy of Fire Engine. If a Rescue Ace monster is normal or special summoned to the field except for Fire Engine, you can special summon this card from your hand. And if a monster is special summoned to your opponent's field except during the damage step, you can special summon 1 level 4 or lower Rescue Ace monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard. We're playing 1 copy of Rescue Ace Fire Attacker. If a Rescue Ace monster is normal or special summoned to your field except a Rescue Ace Fire Attacker, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if a card is added to your opponent's hand except by drawing it, you can draw 2 cards, then discard 1 card. This card is a little contentious. I like it because I feel like there's a lot of positions in which you're not able to summon 2 cards on your opponent's first turn to get a live Preventer, and as a result, it's better just to have something that draws you into potential outs for a setup board. After that, we've got 3 copies of Air Hoister, which is now a 1-card combo. If this card is normally special summoned, you can add a Rescue Ace spell from your deck to your hand, and when your opponent activates a monster effect on the field, you contribute this card from your hand or face up field, special summon a Rescue Ace monster from your hand except Airlifter, and 3 copies of Impulse, which during your main phase allows you to choose an effect monster your opponent controls with the highest attack, and neither player can activate that monster's effects on the field this turn. Importantly, this card in particular is responsible for this deck's very good Pearly matchup. That effect impacts the player. not the Noir. When your opponent activates a monster effect on the field, you contribute this card from your hand or face-up field to special summon a machine, rescue ace monster from your deck, and you can only use that effect once per turn. After that, we've got 3 copies of Ash Blossom, 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird, and the star of the show, 3 copies of Rescue Ace Hydrant. While you control a Rescue Ace monster other than Hydrant, your opponent's monsters can't target this card for attacks, and it cannot be targeted with card effects. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. You can activate a quick play spell or trap card that was set by your Rescue Ace card the turn it was set, and during your main phase, you can add a Rescue Ace monster from your deck to your hand, except Rescue Ace Hydrant. We've got 1 copy of 1-for-1 to find Hydrant. We've got 1 copy of Reinforcement of the Army to find anyone else, 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity, 3 copies of Book of Moon, 1 copy of Alert. This card is, of course, settable off of Turbulence. It's treated as a Rescue Ace card, and it adds a Rescue Ace monster from your graveyard to your hand, although if you have Hydrant, you can add a Rescue Ace monster from your deck to your hand instead. We're playing 3 Super Polymerization. This is a perfect deck for Super Poly because it doesn't need much of its extra, and it already goes through Mud Dragon of the Swamp. 3 copies of Emergency, which is always treated as a Rescue Ace card. Special summons a Rescue Ace monster from your deck in defense position, then tributes a Rescue Ace monster from your hand or field. During your main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard to target a Rescue Ace trap in your graveyard and set it. 1 copy of Rescue, which is treated as a Rescue Ace card. Target a Rescue Ace monster in your graveyard. If you controlled Hydrant, you can target a monster in your opponent's graveyard instead. Special summon it to your field. And 1 copy of Rescue Ace HQ. While your opponent controls a monster, all Rescue Ace monsters you control gain 500 attack and defense. And during your main phase, you get to normal summon again. Once per turn, you can target 4 of your Rescue Ace cards that are banished in your graveyard, shuffle them into the deck, and draw a card. 1 piece of Contain, which if you control a Rescue Ace monster, allows you to target an effect monster your opponent controls. It can't attack and its effects are negated. And if you control Hydrant at Resolution, it also can't be used as material for an extra deck summon. And 1 Extinguish. If you control a Rescue Ace monster, target an effect monster your opponent controls, destroy it. And if you control Rescue Ace Hydrant, your opponent can't activate the activated effects of that destroyed monster or monsters with the same original name this turn. In the extra, we've got Dragonite Draco Akest, Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, Cyberburst to Save Worm, Garua, Mud Dragon, Mirologic Aggregator, Neo Tempest Terahertz, Firewall Dragon, Protect Code Talker, Salaman Great Sunlight Wolf, Proxy F Magician. This one is actually indispensable. Reproducus, Link Decoder, Linkaribo, and Salaman Great Almirage, also non-negotiable. In the side, we've just got Nibiru, Cosmic Cyclone, Evenly Matched, Gozen Match, and Solemn Judgment. So with that, let's jump into the games. Our first match is up against Fluondereeze, and get excited to see this combo a bunch of times. We're going first, and we have opened it. We're going to begin with a copy of Air Hoister that's going to grab from deck to hand an Emergency. We'll follow it up with a Reinforcement of the Army, though we don't actually need to do this. We're going to fire off the Emergency here to go into Hydrant, then we'll activate the effect of the Hydrant on field in order to grab from deck to hand a Turbulence. Let's banish the entire graveyard to get that Turbulence out and fire the effect. That's going to set 4 cards, one of which we can activate now thanks to Hydrant. We'll go for Alert, that's going to grab us a copy of Preventer, link off that Hydrant for a Linkaribo, then banish it for Preventer, link off the Preventer for a Reproducus, and then trigger the effect of the Preventer in graveyard to bring back the Hydrant and the Reproducus calling Cyberburst. We'll make a copy of Link Decoder, then a Protect Code Talker, then a Firewall Dragon, triggering the graveyard effect of both the Link Decoder and the Protect Code Talker, so we can trigger the effect of the Firewall Dragon to get the Preventer back. Finally, we will link off for a Neo Tempest Terahertz and send a copy of Deceive Worm. To conclude our turn, we're going to go for Pot of Prosperity, and ooh, I will take that Droll and Lockbird, thank you very much, before passing back to our opponent. They'll draw for turn, and in draw phase go for Advent of Adventure, so they don't run into Droll. Unfortunately, there's no way around it. They're going to run into it as they fire off this Pot of Extravagance. They'll draw a couple of cards off the top of the deck, and we will fire the Droll. They'll go to battle phase, but unfortunately that Deceive Worm will be able to negate that trap card. In main phase 2, they're going to normal summon a Robina, trigger the effect of the Eaglin. We will activate this Rescue Engrave in order to grab back the Hydrant. Oh yeah, right, Droll is reciprocal. It is what it is. They're going to book our copy of Hydrant, then afterwards we'll flip it up, and they are going to flip up their set copy of Fluondereeze in the Dreaming Town. That's pretty good. Unfortunately, the Mirologic Aggregator doesn't do exactly what we want because we're turn player, but the Ash should. Upon resolving, our opponent is going to concede, and we'll scoop up a quick game 1. Our second match is up against Subterror, and this is this deck's #1 weakness, decks that set trap cards. You really have to rely on non-engine to get through these matches, and we have drawn one of the best ones we can. They're going to begin with a copy of Dragoon of Red Eyes, set 2 and pass. Boy, do I miss Yu-Gi-Oh! Like this. We'll begin with a copy of Hydrant, triggering the effect of both the Fire Attacker and firing off that Alert as well. We're going to special summon the Fire Attacker. It's going to get eaten by a punishment. Then Entis can pop this Hydrant before it can activate its ignition. Afterwards, we're going to go for a Pot of Prosperity. Our opponent elects not to negate, I think fearing we have the second copy, and we find off the top, I guess we'll take the Emergency here. We're afterwards going to go for the Turbulence. That's going to trigger the Dragoon of Red Eyes. We'll activate the effect of the Impulse in response, which allows us to get another Hydrant, and of course, we haven't yet activated the effect. We'll go for it here in order to get an Air Hoister for next turn, go into a Dark Monster, and what do you know, perfect time for a Super Poly. Let's just hope that back row isn't too good. We'll pass back to our opponent, and whew, not the Hidden City. Great. They're going to fire off a Dogmatic Punishment, targeting the Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, then normal summoning a Fiendess, I think telegraphing another copy, but that doesn't really contest the Air Hoister, and besides, we drew the Book of Moon anyway. We'll go for Air Hoister here here. That's going to grab from deck to hand a copy of Rescue. They're going to draw on Lockbird. We'll chain Rescue in order to summon back this copy of Turbulence. And what do you know? It doesn't add. It sets to our side of the field. Looks pretty good. We'll go to the battle phase and get over our opponent's monster. And this is really where this deck excels. These simplified board states where you are just able to +3. Our opponent's going to concede, and we will move on. So it's time for game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent's playing Labyrinth, and whoa, they've opened pretty well. Huh. Okay, well, I hope we can deal with Ash Blossom and Infinite Impermanence, but this hand doesn't look like it. No access to Emergency without the Warrior monster means that Ash Blossom is going to severely hamper our plays. We'll go for Impulse and Fire Engine into Sunlight Wolf, then go for Turbulence in order to summon it and activate its effect. That's going to eat an Infip, and unfortunately, we're going to have to pass there. At end step, our opponent's going to activate Stovey Torby in order to set a Labyrinth trap, and things are looking very bad. They're going to go for a Welcome Labyrinth, and oh, you're kidding me, Coup Clock off the top. They're going to go Ariana here in order to grab Big Welcome, then Coup Clock. They're going to set that copy of Big Welcome, then activate it in order to summon Lovely Labyrinth of Silver Castle, recycling that Ariana and activating both the effect of the Lovely Lab and the Torby to summon it to the link point of Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf. They're going to set one and pass, walking over our last remaining monster and resetting that copy of Big Welcome. Okay, all right, we'll just go next. Sheesh, you don't have to rub it in. Coup Clock 2. Man, that's how all my game 1s versus Labyrinth have been going recently. And this is how all of my game 2s versus Labyrinth have been going. Double Solemn Judgment in the opener plus full combo. Wow. We're going to go for the Pot of Prosperity, finding off the top. Well, if nothing else, that Rhoda will do it. That Rhoda is going to translate into an Air Hoister, and then we can normal summon the Air Hoister, use its effect to get a copy of Emergency, and then we have access to our Hydrant. We're going to go ahead and fire the Emergency here and tribute this copy of Impulse from hand rather than the monster on field. This allows us to go Hydrant into a Linkuriboh, into the Preventer, banishing the Hydrant, and of course, activating the effect of the Preventer in graveyard when the Hydrant is banished and Raperducus has made it onto the field, making it a Cyberse and going through the line. From here we can make Protect Code Talker into Firewall Dragon, and we'll activate the effects of both in order to not only cycle back a copy of Preventer to our hand with Firewall Dragon, but also end on Neo Tempest Terahertz. That's going to send a copy of the Save Worm to the graveyard. We're going to go for Turbulence here and set 3 before setting 2 additional cards, passing it back to our opponent and wishing them good luck. They're going to go for Stovey Torby here, setting a Big Welcome and starting their turn. They're going to begin with a copy of Labyrinth, then fire off the Big Welcome, which is just not going to resolve. We're going to use the Save Worm here. Afterwards, we'll activate Pot of Prosperity. Probably can't let that resolve either. We're going to go for the Solemn Judgment, and then after that, they are going to set 2 and pass. We're going to go for Rescue at end step in order to bring back this copy of Hydrant and draw for turn. What do you know? It's an Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. We'll activate the effect of the Hydrant in order to grab a copy of Impulse, then we'll activate Preventer in order to summon itself. Our opponent's going to go for DDKC, we'll Solemn, and we will move to a comfortable Game 3 situation. So it's time for that all-important Game 3, and Game 3s versus Labyrinth are always so intense, it always feels like they can just EEV me out of nowhere. This hand does do it, but thankfully we do have an Ash Blossom in our opener, so we shouldn't run into it. They're going to begin with a copy of Lord of the Heavenly Prison, and then they're going to activate the effect of the Ariana in order to grab a Coup Clock. They'll activate Coup Clock, and then fire off the Chandra Liger in order to set a Big Welcome Labyrinth. That'll trigger the effect of the Coup Clock, which they summon, so they can bounce with the Big Welcome Labyrinth, but unfortunately it's going to leave them a sitting duck when I Ash Blossom that card. They will pass turn here, and we should be able to wipe it clean. We're going to go to the main phase and fire off this copy of 1/1, pitching the Fire Attacker for a Hydrant, then activating Alert in order to grab from deck to hand a Turbulence. They are going to activate the effect of Droll and Lockbird here. We will chain Super Poly. Afterwards, we're going to go for Turbulence, getting it to our side of the field, and then Turbulence in order to set 4. We'll go to the battle phase and put them down to 2,000 life points with 4 back row set. I'm feeling really good about this one. Let's see the draw. Just need them to whiff 1, and that'll do it. So we're back with the deck, and damn, I'm going to have to buy one of those stupid flags with a line on it, huh? Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1. Turn 0 interaction. Rescue Ace Impulse can activate in hand on your opponent's turn and special Rescue Ace from deck. In most games, this is going to give you a Fire Attacker, allowing you to draw 2 and discard 1, dig for power spells and hand traps, especially out of the board, but in high roll hands with Fire Engine, you can get a quick play Book of Moon on your opponent's turn. 2. Turbulence's effect has gotten even better since the last time we saw it. Easy Turbulence accents and the new Quick Play has opened up a plethora of options for the deck, consistently ending on a pop and a negate at minimum with follow-up. And 3, non-engine. This deck has the benefit of ample slots, giving it a lot of fluidity to adapt to an ever-changing format. And the cons. 1, this deck has no in-engine back row hate as of now, so it can struggle to deal with trap-heavy strategies and problem spells. Second, the deck struggles with huge monsters that have targeting protection. Your best bet is to focus in on one of the firewalls to remove it, which can be resource intensive when going second. And 3, Hydrant is $40. Sheesh, I thought firefighting was supposed to be a public utility. Crassus! Overall, this deck seems like a real up-and-comer, only trailing behind the best decks by a slim margin. In the vein of Vanquished Soul, expect to see Impulse resolve on your turn a lot in the future. Thanks so much for watching. A huge shouts out to all of my patrons, but specifically Alex Perea, Allison Elliott, Ben Misera, Brett Henry, Bizin Queen, Chaotic Meatball, Kristen Malone, Da Bears, Darkmaster Zork, Derpin Dragon, DJ Elephant, Executive Slifer, Gabe the Green, John Piet, Jordan Kuntz, King Magic Ruler, Knight Mary, Legal Rights, Lockstone, Luis Hernandez, Materiality, Matthew M. DeRezzo, MBT Play Madolce, Melfistan, Mike Carlotti, NH6574, Puffins of Doom, Rose Lapine, Solar Flare, The Hollow King, Tootsie, Troy Says By Erasure is Gay, Vincent Storm, Who's Nick, Wonder Waffle, Yuki, and Yor. I couldn't have done it without you.